Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun here with Israeli News Live, and we're on our Patreon channel. And it's been a couple of weeks probably since I posted anything, and I apologize for that. Been a lot of issues going on here. Won't go into all those things there, but we have really been doing a lot of research, a lot of information that we're going to be sharing with you. A lot of that we can't even share here. You're going to find out why. I'll be doing a video with my wife hopefully tonight. She's been preparing all of her research. She's also been writing an article for Israeli News Live, our channel there. I think you're going to find it very interesting. But we've been on the road. We were at a meeting down in Atlanta for several days there. We met with multiple of the doctors that were there as well. Won't go into that issue here because we can't discuss that on this channel. But what we can talk about here, of course, is the intelligence information that I get that I like to share with you guys here. And tonight I'm going to go a lot deeper in depth. I'm going to kind of go back and forth with different things there. And going to start with just the notes that I've taken here. I do quite extensive notes, so I'm hoping it'll be a blessing for you. I kind of have up here a little clip here that someone posted on their YouTube channel. Let's see, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can actually just click to that particular YouTube channel.
Hi, folks.
There we go there. That way we can see who the channel is. National Cryptid Society put this video out right here. And I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get to the part where he's at. There we go, right there, right there. We're going to kind of share just a little brief clip of this here in just a few minutes here. This is talking about the bear-like creature. And I want to first read to you a little bit about from my notes right here on this. It said, I can't attest to the aliens in connection with that. I can attest to it. It appears from my information that there is a dramatic uptick in the past decade of satanic worship and coinciding with the Bigfoot / bear man phenomenon in addition to the certain spiritual events that seem to be on the uptick as well. But I can't attest to that as far as the aliens go. What I do know, because I think I sent you the pictures, we have a department at the Pentagon that specializes in alien autopsies. And for the most part, a lot of the aliens that we do autopsies are terrestrial, like they're from Earth. But I would say 10 to 15% of them we actually believe are coming from some other planet or dimension. There is one in particular, the latest one this past month, if you remember the movie Predator. Now I'm going to get into that in just a few minutes here. But before I go into that, we'll back up to this one about the bear man-like creature that's been on the uptick here. Now, what the question I was asking was that Mike from around the world, I don't know if it was on Begley's program or on his own program that he does there, he was basically quoting what we call the Russian disclosure, but that Russian disclosure was done, I think, more internally. So Mike had that information as well as did I, that the aliens Russia believes they only come from Earth. They don't come from anywhere else. No interdimensional, no outer space from other planets, etc. We know that that's not true. But like you said, though, a lot of the ones that we do autopsies are more terrestrial. They have the organs like humans, etc., things of that nature there. In particular is one like in the case here, the bear-like creature here. And I want to just play this little clip here. And I know I've shared some of this type of information with you guys already before, so just bear with me because I'm going to get into an alien species that you have never heard about before. And we do believe that this species that I'm going to talk to you about in a moment is extraterrestrial, not terrestrial in nature. I'll speak about that creature in just a moment here. Let's first play this little clip right here for you, about a couple of minutes here.
About 30 yards away, I showed them photographs of bears, and they became upset, saying they were not stupid. They were offended, so I suggested they draw what they saw. The lady drew a Bigfoot, or a Bigfoot-like creature. I wrote a report and filed it in the Dropbox at the ranger station. The ranger station opens at 7 a.m. When my shift ended at 7 a.m., me and a security buddy went to the ranger station before going to the trail to check it out for ourselves. This was no later than 7:30 a.m. The ranger in charge at the time said he did not receive my report, but the trailhead was closed for a study or problem bears. We went anyway. The trail to Mallard Lake was closed with parked cars that I had not seen before. I kept inquiring until my boss from Mammoth Hot Springs told me to drop it. He said he had seen my report. He told me the park was aware. I prefer to be anonymous. I'm not sure why I feel that way, as it was many years ago. It was such a strange experience. Most law enforcement rangers were friendly with me. They knew that I had completed the law enforcement academy. I felt weird talking about it. The subject was something understood but not talked about. A job ender. This was clearly not a bear sighting. I was told to let it go. Back then I was a young guy with no interest in the Sasquatch stories or movies or etc. Years later I learned a highly respected backcountry ranger made a BFRO report. I'm nearly 60 now. It was a long time ago. In some ways, it seems like yesterday. National parks back then were places where bad press, crime, missing people were all kept quiet. Thanks for listening. Be well.
All right, I wanted to be able to share that, just that little clip there. And that's kind of like the one I'd already shared before about this bear-like type creature there. And that's also, from what I heard recently, that has been spotted as well in eastern Tennessee in the Smoky Mountain area there. This creature has also been spotted there in some recent reports that have come out as well. So anyway, we got into that, and then we began to talk about another type of creature there. And let me just see. We'll take and I forget exactly. Let's see. The movie Predator is what he was like in this too, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the only reason I can think of that, the reason why. Let me just see if we get a look at some images there on this movie Predator. I'm not really sure there. I've never seen it before. And I'm not sure if it's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger or what this is, because there are different types of movies out there. So I'm really not familiar with that. You guys, it might resonate with somebody that's listening there. So let me just kind of tell you a little bit about this particular alien species there. And maybe it'll make more sense to you, because I see that you have the old movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but then you also have this weird-looking creature here, and there's some other type of movie called Predator, and maybe that's what they're looking at. At any rate, there, let me pick back up here on my notes. Let's see here. All right, from some other planet. Okay, so. The latest one, and this was back in May that they were dealing with this, so it's been very recent. He said, do you remember the movie Predator? Remember how he had like a cloaking device or would turn invisible? We actually have an alien that we have not determined at this point how it happens, but we believe this is more or less like a chameleon. It has the capabilities, kind of like a jellyfish, is a sort of transparent is a sort of a transparent creature, but it can change its color. It can change its, the way it looks like, that type of thing that we've been working on, that this past month, as a matter of fact, it was in May, we believe that it comes from another planet. He resides on, or it resides on our planet. And I ask specifically, is this an ocean or a land-based creature? And I was told it was a land-based creature. He said that we actually found it, and he said, I hate to say this, but unfortunately we found it in a national park, and it was on, it was not on the ground. It was actually jumping from tree to tree. And he said, you're talking about like these 100-foot tall trees there, and it was in the top of the trees. And at that time, It was like a dark green color to kind of blend in with the tree there. That's when they actually captured this creature. So I asked, what does it look like when it takes shape to be visible? He says, we're not really sure what its native form really is. When we caught it when it was basically a very dark green. He says, however, it goes from, from color to color, from shape to shape, from texture to texture, and very much like a chameleon. This creature is heavily sedated right now, he said to me. But even when it's sedated, when you get near it, he said it still puts off a high electrical charge. So this is why our scientists are not sure if the entity is organic or if it's some sort of biological suit-like character in the movie Predator. So we don't even really know what we're even dealing with this type of a creature, but they believe it is extraterrestrial. Let's see here. So there again, he may be talking about the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Either case, I've not seen any of these movies, so I'm not really familiar with any of this here. But allegedly, one of these creatures has the ability to just go invisible or then reappear again, whatever the case may be. And this is the same thing that they're dealing with. This thing can literally go invisible on them, so they keep it sedated in order to be able to try to understand it better. I also got in and I asked more about the government's disclosure program because we know that the government is really pressing to disclose as much as they can, and they're really being pushed by the aliens to do so. But he said it's not going as expected. A lot of this has to do with the government's deniability policies of the past, and this was one of the reasons for the outsourcing much of the alien programs to private contractors. It gave the government an easy way for deniability. However, this, it's backfiring because the government knows very little of what really is going on. And even with all the difficulties, there's a strong desire to have all disclosures complete by this year. And this, of course, as I said already, is being pushed from the alien side. It is also shared with me, though, the Catholic Church is in direct communication with the aliens, but even amongst Catholics, there has been growing concern of this disclosure, for they feel like something is not adding up. Some of the upper clergy of the Catholic Church, specifically those that have been more involved in the exorcism of the Catholic Church, they're the ones that are really voicing the concern that something doesn't seem right at all about these aliens, and that they feel like that they're just really not. I need to get off of this page. I just don't even like the looks of these creatures. So that's I have no idea if that's an authentic picture or anything like that, but I was just looking for pictures that might give us some idea of what different species look like. That's supposed to be the picture of a Venetian, maybe a Palladian, who knows, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So at any rate there, though, the Catholic Church is very much concerned about what they're up to. And when I say that the Catholic Church is working directly with them, I have a feeling this has a lot to do with the situation with the Ra, the sun god alien, that is expressing that they're coming here to share that they were the ones that sent Jesus. I've said that to you guys before, and I believe that's who the Vatican is in touch with. I know also in our own government, the intelligence people in the CIA have been having dealings with them, which I was brought in to give a few little thoughts on that issue as well. So, but anyway, that's just some of the interesting parts about what they're saying there. He also said that some of the upper clergy of the Catholic Church, specifically those who are well-versed in exorcism, have been speaking up, saying that we may not be dealing with whom we think we're really dealing with. This has created divisions amongst the high-ranking priests, some wanting to move forward, others very concerned about any advancement with aliens. The bear man type creature that we have talked about before is expected to become more seen in the open in non-rural areas. I don't know why I put that note there when I did it, but anyway, that was actually should have been up there at the very beginning there. So anyway, but the fact that these creatures are associated with satanic rituals. Anyway, I didn't mean for that. I don't know how I got my notes backwards like that, but I did. Let me share some other things here with you, though. I was listening to some of the meetings that Mike from Around the World did with Paul Bagley on his program, and I wrote this note here. Mike from Around the World was stating on Bagley's program, the people are meditating in large groups and that are causing UFOs to appear all around the world. Now, I think I shared that. I don't know if I did that here on Patreon, if I did that on our regular channel, but somewhere I have talked a little bit about that. But I want to kind of go into some of the notes that I have on this, because sometimes I forget to tell you all the details about it. Thing is that we've done studies in this area, and we have concluded that thought is the most powerful form of communication available to humans. And our thoughts, I'm not sure how they tested this, but our thoughts actually traverses multiple dimensions and multiple planetary entities. I'm not sure how they come to that conclusion, but that's what they say. Can you imagine that? Now that's coming right out of our own government there, in response to me asking the question about Mike from Around the World, what he said on Bagley's program, that through meditation they're causing these UFOs and entities, these alien entities, to appear before them. And he spoke about massive groups and many of these groups doing this, right? And then I was told, don't know how they did it, but this is what our own government has been doing, and they have determined that thought is the most powerful form of communication available to humans, are our thoughts. Wow. What is it? One of the Bible verses, as a man thinketh, so is he. We know that God knows the very thoughts and intents of our heart. It seems to me that there's a biblical passage that says that our voice is louder. Let's see if I can find that. Let's try to find that real quick here. Let me move my notes aside there. I spent all afternoon reviewing my notes here because I wanted to share that with you. Let's just see here. Let's go to eSword here. We'll pop that open. Seems like that's what it is. Your voice is louder in heaven. And maybe that's what it is. No, that's not it. It's not the voice. Louder in heaven. Maybe not. No, that's not going to work either. I don't know why or where. I know when I was looking up thoughts, if you just look up thoughts, there's all kinds of them, right? Let's see. The wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. See, God was able to hear that all the way up to where he is, even their thoughts, right? So there were other ones as well in there, just so you have a lot of different things about thoughts of his heart. Let's see here. Oh, goodness. I wish I'd have gone back and really looked into this. Jesus says, for out of their heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries. We also know that when Jesus was here on earth, he was able to perceive the thoughts that they were thinking right here on earth. But there's something somewhere, and I don't know why I know that, but it's like and I just can't remember how to word it though, but it's almost like your thought or something like that is heard much easier in heaven than it is on the earth here. Oh goodness, I wish I knew where that was at. Hebrews 4:12, also very popular. Sword, the word of God, two-edged sword, piercing even and dividing asunder the soul and spirit and the joints and the marrow, and the discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart there. Again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. Oh well, we just have to kind of skip that for now because I just do not recall where that's at or why that sticks out in my mind there. All right, let's go on then. Thing is, we've done study. Okay, so we already got into that right there. Then we got into the discussion about Antarctica. And I have spoke about that a little bit as well. Let me just see, because I got notes all mixed in here. Okay, no, I didn't have it mixed up. All right, here we go. And I don't know why I asked the question about a war in Antarctica. It could have been one of the things where Mike had brought this up too. There is and I was told, and I have shared this as well already, but we'll go into it a little bit more. I was told there's like a territorial war that had occurred, and they ended up, actually the Catholics ended up brokering a treaty between the different countries. Now, that was the United States, Russia, and China, by the way. The countries, all you know, there's really two things that play. One is quantum energy, because they're discovering possible way of acquiring energy that would do away with petroleum. Let's try to look up something on that real quick too. Yeah, I'll go over here and get rid of this one here. Just do it that way there. Antarctica. And I am not spelling that right. I'm going to put John Kerry in there because that's when all this went down, by the way. Let's jump into images there. You remember when John Kerry went to Antarctica, right? This was right during the height of presidential elections. And of course, he's there, but what was actually going on was a battle. There was a physical battle that took place there, and it was over, as I was told, brokering a treaty between the different countries. The countries are all, you know, there's really two things that were at play. One was quantum energy, because they're discovering an impossible way of acquiring energy that would do away with petroleum altogether, and of course that's a huge amount of money. And other is quantum. They're all quantum-based sciences, but the other one is quantum-based mode of traveling. You know, so that we don't have to travel 60 or even 80 miles per hour, but we can pretty much think and get there, and that's pretty much it. So that's what they were fighting over, as I obviously see this big advantages to war and money. To somehow the Catholics are big into this alien thing, you know, and they know more about this than anybody else, I would say, and somehow they got involved in brokering this that ended up providing a certain amount of peace at this point in time. However, I really don't see peace lasting because of the amount of technologies involved, that the impact of that technology, this is always ramping up. And when Obama was president, and during the time that we saw John Kerry go down to Antarctica, Russia, of course, and he also went on to say Russia's also uncovered a lot of artifacts, not only in Antarctica, but also in Siberia. So I need to do a little bit deeper looking into this quantum technology, because this quantum technology, and by the way, we can jump back over here too, and if you look to besides John Kerry, let's put in Pope Francis. You remember Pope Francis and Kirill, they met together in Cuba, and then Kirill goes on down to Antarctica as well. So the Pope was very much involved in this. Kirill was very much involved in this. And as I said already, the Pope, we already know the Vatican deals directly with aliens. And now you're down there at the very opening of where, aliens live there in the inner Earth in Antarctica. In fact, I actually asked about that as well. I said, you would think with them down there fighting over this territory that this would be causing problems there. But I was told that, the aliens have the standoff attitude, that they don't get involved in human affairs, but yet then they turn around and they're always dropping little hints of what we should do in our own affairs. So anyway, other thing that I was asked about, because I know that Mike had mentioned about gravity is not really what you think it is. And that was confirmed. That is true. Said gravity does not work the way everyone thinks. The fundamental characteristics of gravity and the ability to make gravity was actually discovered by Nikola Tesla back in 1918. So we had quite a few years to polish our understanding of gravity. I think it's 1938 is when Nikola Tesla really got into that issue there, and he wanted to make it public, but all of his research has then since been classified as top secret, and they don't reveal that information at all either. I think I forget her name. There was one lady that mentioned that there was an alien habitation in Africa. And then I was told that not so much in Africa. I'd never heard of one in Africa, but yes, there is one in South America. Specifically, he said it was in Argentina, in one of the mountains there in Argentina. He says they're not hiding it, and the natives and the locals know full well. That they exist and where they exist, and you know how they are supposed to behave with them. So it's not a secret to the locals there. It's just been made kind of hush-hush when it comes to the Western world. The Americans were all considered stupid, so we're not to know about these things. These aliens in Argentina do look human. However, the Venetians are the most human-looking of all alien species. The only difference in the Venetians and humans are internal organs. The Venetians have 2 hearts. I've told you guys about that before, and a much larger lung capacity. Their physical features are nearly perfect and have very logical capability of communication. By the way, the guy that I work with there, of course, he does work at the White House, and he has spoken to me about one of these particular Venetians that comes there. He's about 400 years old. He participates in a lot of the high intel meetings there in Washington, and because he was telling me the Venetians, like humans, have partners. They're like a marriage, and he often jokes around about how he has to behave around his wife, or he catches the dickens when he gets back home. Which, by the way, it's another point in case there were Venetians do not live on this planet, but they come from Venus, is where they actually live at. He does not go to the Pentagon either, by the way. And the reason for the longevity, which I've shared with you guys before as well, is the fact that they have disclosed to us that their mode of breathing is carbon dioxide like plants, and thus what gives them their longevity. And they've actually stated to us that the reason why we do not live as long as what they do is because oxygen actually breaks down the human body. So I thought that was kind of interesting there as well. We were actually talking too about the fact of them being able to breed with the human race, and I was told that yes, they can. They said officially they do not, but it's also believed that that's not really the case. They probably have. I thought that was kind of interesting, seeing that we, even with super intelligent IQs of say like 180, and that would be like someone with like a mega brain, right? That's considered stupid to aliens because they run closer to 1,000 IQ. So I made the little joke. I said, well, they'd be kind of hard pressed to hide that baby, especially if as a girl having bred with a human on the earth or something, and then what are you going to do? Show up with your stupid little kid that even if he had a 250 IQ, Daddy would know real quick, like, that baby came from Earth. So anyway. Also there was a mention, and I don't know if I've shared this with you guys or not, about a bracelet being issued. The Israelis use that. I won't say why they use it. We just know they do, and you can only imagine why. And Mike had brought that up as well, that they're wanting to push and implement that for Americans. And so I asked about that, and I was told that yes, there is a lot of talk about the bracelets, and they're wanting to have those implemented by the end of the year. And of course, you could only imagine the reason why they would do that. And so there's a good possibility they're going to pull that off this year. Anyway, those are some of the notes that I wanted to share with you guys. It's, like I said, it's been a little bit since I've had a chance to do that, and I wanted to do that with you. Also, I had the reptilians up here. Well, that's another thing, too, I'd like to share with you. And maybe in closing, I'll share this with you. While we were in Atlanta, I met with, I'll just say, Pastor Dave. Very beloved brother. I really enjoyed my time with him. Me and my wife, we spoke with him and his wife there at length there. And as a confirmation to information I've shared with you, and I asked if I could have permission to share this story with you, and he said yes. This pastor had a Green Beret, high-ranking Green Beret. If I'm not mistaken, he was an officer in the military that used to attend his church there in California. And he was up in age, and he did have an illness that was going to end his life. And he had always said to the pastor of that church there that one day, he said, before I leave this world, I'm going to share with you an event that happened to me at Area 51. He said, but I can't share that information until I'm near death because of the secrecy that I swore to. He said, not to mention, he said, they would end my life if I told you this. So he waited. And of course, with him having this illness, he knew he finally got to the point where he figured he wasn't going to live much longer. So he called in the pastor. I want to say that he was in the hospital at the time. Maybe he was at home. I forget now what the case was. But he said, I realize, he said, I still may have a little time left. He said, but I'm in such misery because of the sickness that he had. He said, even if they were to come and take my life now, they would only be doing me a favor. He said, but I want to tell you what happened at Area 51. And he said to him, he said, when I was a Green Beret, he says, I was brought in one time. He said, we were in Area 51. He said, we had to go down, and I think he said to the 6th floor underground. Could be wrong on that, but I believe that's what he said where he went to. And he said that when they went down there, they were fully armed, him and his entire Green Beret, I'll just say battalion. They were completely armed and ready when they went down, and they were told that when you go in the room, if anything gets out of hand, you can engage. But otherwise, you're to stand down, and you will stand along the wall there unless absolutely necessary. He said they went down inside to the, like I said, I believe it was the 6th floor, and he said when we came in the room, he said these beings came in the room, he said, like nothing we had ever seen in our lives. He said they were approximately 10 foot tall. He said the odor they had was just horrendously horrible. He said in all the combat he'd ever been in his life, he said he'd seen everything you could ever possibly imagine in battle. He said, but nothing could compare to what he was seeing there at Area 51. He said, I always thought I was a brave man because of the things I'd faced in life. He said, but when I saw these beings here, he said, the fear that gripped me was nothing like I had ever gone through in my entire life. He said they had the beings were very strange looking. And he said they kind of had like a lizard type of skin. I've always been told that. I've never seen a picture that would ever perfectly show you what they look like. But I do know that the contact that I have in Washington has always said they're like a lizard type of skin on them. So I don't know exactly if any of these photos even can come close to what they speak about. You know, when you look at all these, I mean, they got all kinds of pictures online, but who the heck really knows, right? I've also been told that they're very muscular and lot like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this is the way he described them as well. But about 10 foot in height. This is one of the reasons why a lot of times I would choose this picture right here. Anatomically, I've always been told they're just like a human. He said, though, that while they were there, he said they were coming in for a meeting with American officials. They were sitting down to eat with them. He said, we don't know how we knew, he said, but we realized in our minds, it's like we could pick up their thoughts, because they do communicate telepathically, that these creatures wanted to eat them. He said this is what made it very fearful. They knew that they wanted to eat them. And here they were looking at beings that were 4 foot taller than them. Horrendous looking creatures. He said, fortunately, he said there was no confrontation. They did eat their meals, and he actually told me what they were, but I don't recall now. He said, and then when they were done, they went back up to the top. They were debriefed, and they were told that they had never saw what they just saw. They are never to speak about it again as long as they live. It is a classified, top secret program, and what they saw would stay there where they left. He said, and I've never told this to anyone before in my life, but he said, I've always wanted to say something. And so he said it just before he died. And I just wanted to share that with you as another confirmation about these entities being real. There are some things that we'll be sharing with you in videos that I'll, more than likely, if we don't do it tonight, we'll be doing it tomorrow with my wife. I just have to see how that goes. But anyway, it's getting late, and I'm sure if she's ready to do the video, she's probably going to wonder where I'm at as it is. So I'm going to cut this one short. God bless you, and we thank you for your support of this work. Good evening.